Most leaders prepare for a difficult conversation by asking, "What am I going to say?" Today, we ask a far more dangerous question: will they even be able to hear it? Let's dig in.
Welcome to the Leadership Lounge Book Club. I'm Chris Duncan. I'll be your host today, and I'm joined by Shannon McCoy. Good morning, Shannon.
Good morning.
Alan Edwards.
Howdy.
Jay Jacobson.
Hello.
And introducing for the first time on Sedaris TV, it's Sarah Stewart from MSP Hire.
Woo. Hello.
We've been talking a lot about you pretty much every episode, so it's good to finally put a face to a name. Glad to have you here.
Thank you.
If you're watching us live on YouTube, LinkedIn, or Facebook, give us some feedback. Go ahead and ask a question, or if you just have a comment, leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you. If you want to join us live next week, catch up on past episodes, or if you just want a weekly reminder of when we're going to be broadcasting, it's all on the book club website at sedaris.com/book club. That's CDAERIS.com/book club. All right, let's get it started. Shannon, take us away.
Yes. All right. Well, the first rule, I'll go over the rule of the book club. We always talk about book club. So this week we're going to cover chapters 5 and 6 of the book, Crucial Conversations. And we're going to talk about how to create safety and master our own stories. And this will help us to have true, crucial conversations that we're going to talk about how to create safety and master our own stories. One of the things I want to mention here is that we want to solve things and not just keep real matters covered up. And last but not least, here's what we're here for: is we want to walk away with what we want to discover, what we want to walk away with, and what we want to apply, and do so right away. I want to welcome Sarah Stewart, who was mentioned earlier here. She's visiting with us, and she is also sponsoring the Leadership Lounge today. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, Shannon. Thanks for having me, everybody. MSP Hire. Yeah. We're a recruiting firm. We specialize in hiring for managed service providers, a niche market in the IT industry that often needs help finding great talent.
Thank you, Sarah. And if people want to get a hold of you, how would they get a hold of you?
You can hit us up on our website, which is msphire.com, or send me an email, sarah@msphire.com.
Fabulous. Thank you, Sarah. And again, we really appreciate you being here. Even though we can't pronounce words today, we still do appreciate things.
Great. Thanks for having me. I'll fit right in.
Yeah. It doesn't take much. All right, let's see. Back to work here. Last week, we learned about defining the clarity, and what we really wanted to recognize was when a conversation was slipping from a dialogue into what they called silence or violence. So we used the CPR technique. And once we went through the CPR steps, and I think there was probably another one, CPRR or CPRP, or I don't remember.
Yeah, there's a bonus P word for...
there was a bonus P.
Yeah.
We led with heart, which was the premise of all of these conversations, leading with heart. Like me, if you forgot what the last abbreviation of CPR was, or you want to know what leading with heart is, you can go back and look at those techniques on our last episode of July 9th. You can watch that on YouTube. This week, as Shannon talked about, we're going to take that dialogue into the practical steps of it. We're about halfway through the book, and we're starting to get into those applications. We are going to learn today how to stay in dialogue when you're angry and how to notice when your safety is at risk. And Alan, the book goes into a lot of detail about making conversations safe. So for our listeners, what is safety and what does this mean?
I don't know if you've ever been in a meeting where you're afraid to speak up. that's an unsafe meeting, right? You are not safe in that point. And so I think that's what it means to be safe is everybody willing to say what's on their mind? And if you can do that in a room with two people or a group of people, then that's creating safety. And the book gives us a lot of ways to attempt safety. I don't know. Have you guys ever been in a meeting before where you could just tell people were thinking something but weren't saying it?
Absolutely.
I spend a lot of my life in those kind of meetings. Many times I'm sitting around a conference table with families trying to make funeral arrangements, and you can just sense there's somebody sitting in the corner, arms crossed, that scowl on their face, that's ready to say something, but nobody's inviting them in. And it's amazing what happens when you call that out and you say, you know, it looks like you have something you'd like to add to this conversation, and everything changes. All the people who have dominated the conversation all of a sudden back off a little bit, and that person comes forward, and usually they have the solution, but nobody's ever asked them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so go ahead, Shannon.
Well, and I was thinking it's interesting too. This book helps us to look at safety in the format that you were just talking about, where the leaders could invite these different individuals to speak up because they normally dominate. And then of course there's also the fear that we're putting on it. Maybe if you want to, if you're that person who's like, man, I don't know if it's going to be a safe place. Is it really unsafe too? We have to think about it. Are we making that up? Is that our own story that we're running in our head, that this is not a good time, or nobody wants to hear what I have to say? So there's fear in different ways.
Shannon, that kind of points us back to a very valuable point that was made in these chapters about the story we tell ourselves. That every time we get information, it's all processed without us even knowing it through our entire history. What have been our experiences to date? And so as the people who are in that dialogue, we have to recognize that the story, we each tell ourselves a different story. And so what comes out as conflict may be nothing to do with the dialogue we're having today. And so we back out and we say, try to understand, where is this person coming from? And that provides that kind of level of safety where they can jump in and realize that maybe the story they're telling themselves isn't really applicable in this particular situation.
So let's dig into some tools the book gives us, because I feel like after reading this whole book, I need a series of index cards on my desk prepared for the moment a crucial conversation happens. There's a lot of specific material in here. The book's definition of what does safety requires two things. You guys can help me define these: mutual purpose and mutual respect.
Yeah.
So what does mutual purpose mean to you guys?
I think it's like when you're sitting down with somebody, you both understand what the intention is of where you're going.
Both parties have to believe that the other cares about the goal of this meeting, or where it's going, for sure.
Right.
And
it's the
a
desired
great tool for doing
shared.
that is
I was just going to say that. It's a desired outcome, right? So we have a shared desired outcome. So at the end of it all, what is it that we both really want in this situation? Go ahead, though, Jay.
But I think a great tool for that is just to restate the purpose of what you're trying to come to. And last week we talked about the two girls in the restroom that were I've got to go first, and they forgot the real purpose. So when you can back out and you can say, you know, what do we really want here? Well, we want to go to the bathroom. Well, let's figure out a way to do that, not argue about who wins. And so when you do that, like in a meeting, it's like you come back and you restate the purpose of what we're trying to discuss, and you get agreement on that. And then you have established mutual purpose. And then you can go on to that respect aspect of how we dialogue from there.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Alan.
That's the companion piece that they have to say that requires safety. The second piece is mutual respect. You actually have to make each other at least believe that you respect each other, at least to the point of the mutual purpose, right? We sometimes we have to deal with people that we don't fully respect and have that crucial conversation. So we have to develop that for a mutual purpose, at least.
Is this part of the pool of shared knowledge that we talked about a few episodes ago? How are these goals expressed? Do they come out in conversation? They feel like they would come out early in the conversation.
Well, I would think that is something you go into the meeting with a preconceived notion of what you're doing, and sometimes what the direction you're trying to go, you don't both share that really ultimate goal, and just listening and whittling it down to the one thing you can agree on and start there. So can we agree that we would like to solve this problem today, and then you build from there. Now, all the ancillary things that you don't agree on, you can start bringing them. How does this affect the purpose of what we really want to get? And if it has nothing to do with the purpose of what we're doing, let's table that for later.
Yeah. Once we've established those safety, what's next?
Well, this whole section of the book is preparing us to have the crucial conversation. Right before we talked about definitions and what's happening, and now we're working on ourselves before we can begin the dialogue. So we have to make the room safe. We have to be safe. There's some more tools we should cover about that as well. But then there's a chapter called "Master My Stories," which is what causes us to get emotional during these crucial conversations. And usually it's not the facts. It's the story we tell about the facts. And so I think that's where the authors are leading us to be ready for dialogue.
Yeah, Alan, you touched on a really important transition we're seeing in this book at this point. The first chapters have given us a vernacular, an understanding of a language that we can talk about this issue. And these two chapters start changing that to how do we apply that? How do we recognize when a conversation we're in starts to be off the rails? And then gives us the tools of how do we bring it back? And you'll see as we progress in the book a little bit further, the tools become more complex, but they also become more and more a part of our daily lives. And we've talked about this a little amongst us, that we're already noticing in our conversations we're having throughout the week that these tools are starting to work their way in. And those critical conversations we're having are going smoother.
I was having a conversation on Sunday, and I had suddenly realized that we didn't feel safe. I kind of in my head was like, okay, start with Hart. What's he thinking? And then I remember the repair tools of apologize and contrast, which is covered in this section. Hey, I am sorry we got off on the wrong foot. I understand how I might have come off seeming like I was on the attack, but that was not my intention. That's the contrast. It might sound like this, but that wasn't my intention. And so I used those to get the conversation back on track. And it was amazing just to watch the conversation die down. Like, oh, thank you for saying that. Let's talk now. Let's dialogue.
Yeah. And that's a great way to back up the conversation, rewind a little bit, and come back into it fresh with a better understanding of what the intent was.
That might even be my key takeaway from that chapter, which was to when things go south, back up, restore safety.
Yeah.
And then try
Sarah, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I just think that also being able to do that shows vulnerability. And if you know me, I tout vulnerability as a bit of a superpower. I think when you can be vulnerable with somebody and apologize for maybe not bringing yourself across the way you had intended to, allows the other person to lean in a little bit more and sort of take off that defensiveness and rejoin the conversation in a much more constructive way.
Yeah, I think that's a superpower too, by the way.
I'm curious, some of these acronyms I like better than other ones, and I'm not a huge fan of chapter 5's acronym, which is CRIB, CRIB. Commit to mutual purpose, recognize the purpose behind the strategy, invent a shared purpose, brainstorm new strategies. It seems very complex to accomplish those two things you're trying to do, right? Which is these are tools to get you to a mutual purpose and mutual respect.
Yeah, it reminds me of a term that there's the invention of the awareness wheel, where you go through, it's like cycle of how you speak to people. It's like you know, what I'm thinking, what I'm fearing, what I'm going to do, and all that. So there's this little cycle. It's like this could use, we could have a dial of this as well. So like, am I doing this? Am I going? Um, and I was thinking that in chapter 5, if they were more, if it was less about saying, well, think about this and think about that. If it was more directive, if it was like, you need to do this, it would be more like, stick to the facts without assumptions. Stop fighting to keep our story and looking for confirming behaviors. Stop creating your own narrative without finding out, you know, and being a martyr. So there's all these. So it's kind of funny. You could also play with this book a little bit and say, what would it be if they were that direct? Go do this.
Yeah. These things are hard to practice.
Mm-hmm.
And gathering evidence is something that we all do, I think, without even thinking of it. It's a subconscious, we want confirmation bias, right? So every time something agrees with what our story is, then our story just becomes stronger.
Yeah. In relationship spats, I used to explain it another way, but this way was so much simpler. My way of explaining it was, you know, somebody says something to you and you snap back at them. You're like, what happened? Well, what the outsiders don't see is you've had this conversation 100 times before, and it escalates like this in your pattern. And so you say that one thing now and they just jump straight to the top. But what's actually happening is you're telling a story that fit the facts, but aren't necessarily factual in itself. Chapter 6, by the way, was one of my favorite chapters of the book.
Yeah.
It explained a lot of what I've seen, behaviors in meetings and conversations.
So tell us about chapter 6.
Yeah, somebody. No,
Can't just drop I like chapter 6 and
yeah.
And leave us hanging.
We've been talking about it. It's called Master My Stories, and it's to the point where let's use their example. I loved it because it's happened to me a lot of times as a manager. Somebody's late for work. All right. Well, what are the facts? The fact is work starts at 8. They showed up at 8:20. What are the stories you could tell yourself? They have disrespected our whole team and all of our clients' time because they hate us and they're a slacker. Those things might be true, but we don't know those things. And it's amazing what happens in the conversation. If you actually start the conversation with like, hey, you're 20 minutes late for work. Are you okay? What's going on? Versus it coming at it with a story. Like, you disrespected me. That conversation is not going to go anywhere good.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of that's similar to chapter 5 about labeling something when you don't really know. Like, I'm having problems with my lawyer, and so since I'm being in victim mode, he's no longer just a lawyer; he's a blood-sucking lawyer, and I have no proof of that. But that's where I go, right?
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting.
I just put this together. Does this fit into assume good intent? Something I repeat often in replying to Reddit trolls and messages that come off abrasive.
Assume
Absolutely.
good
I think
intent until proven wrong.
It points us back to putting ourselves in the other person's shoe. When we're having those conversations, we don't have to accept the premise. We don't have to accept the victim story or you know, I have no control or whatever the story is, but we do put ourselves in those shoes. And then we recognize, okay, is this behavior a disrespect? Is it a pattern? And then you can sort down and deal with the real issue. But you start with, like we said last week, start with heart. You start with understanding, where is this person coming from? What possibly could make them react this way? And then we start to understand their story, and we put it in against our story and say, okay, let's get back to the real issue. You're late. You know, let's talk about that.
Yeah, but it's not my fault.
Well, you know, there are 700 different people here at Sedaris that made it to work on time. What happened today that yeah, those are difficult conversations, but you have to sort through and identify, is this a pattern? Did this just happen today? Then yeah, it probably may not have been their fault, but you listen to the story and you process the information you have.
I think being able also to talk about the impact without a story is powerful in this case as
Mhm.
well. So what really was the impact of you being late? Okay, well, Shannon, you and Shannon were supposed to have a meeting, and because you were 20 minutes late, you weren't able to cover what you needed to in order to prepare for the presentation that you have next afternoon or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You can, that's still a very strong
Yes.
case of why being late isn't
Mhm.
cool, but you don't have to add all of the other pieces in that maybe we feel like we need to sometimes.
Right.
Suddenly I'm remembering a piece that was also impactful to me. They did a good job adding a very human component to this. I love psychology pieces in these
Mhm.
books. And it's like, okay, so you logic through this, right? Because the story enters your mind completely subconsciously, right? Is that the story is just there, it triggers your emotions, and guess what? Thought is fast. You can fix that story very fast, but all of those chemicals in your bloodstream that just got released from having that story, they take a little while longer
Yeah.
to leave. So even though you go like, you know what, he wasn't disrespecting me, it really was his first time. There was actually no one waiting on him, but I'm
Mhm.
still mad because those
Yeah.
chemicals are in my bloodstream. And
Yeah.
we have to recognize that too and give it time for it to catch up to the story. Don't be late.
Especially important with teenagers because it takes them longer to process those chemicals.
They're already
Probably were
flooded.
late.
There's a small tidbit in here. And honestly, this probably belongs in every chapter. But asking yourself the question, what can I do to actually move this forward? Right? What do I want out of this conversation? And like, do you want to berate somebody? You know, this is back to last week. Or do you need better behavior? But for what purpose? You don't want people to be on time. You want the result of them being on time.
And that's what could really help the person as well, right? Leadership, that's good leadership because it reminds them of what it really means, right? What late can mean to others, and just kind of go give them an opportunity to let that sink in, and hopefully that will that'll be eye-opening. So you'll both be more aware of your relationship and where it kind of like the impact you have on each other. You know, like if they view you as a good leader, they're probably going to welcome that. You know, because it'll maybe help them to create better habits in their life.
Yeah.
And great leaders, they're very good at not just telling people what to do, but sharing the why behind it. So if you correct somebody and you say, you know, you're late and we can't have that, and this is why. And then you go into the, and that works with almost any situation when you have to correct a staff member, because when you start teaching them the why, the next time they have to make that decision, all of those whys start to work in their head and they start to make better choices. But if you just simply say you can't be late again, they don't understand the impact it has in the organization.
Yeah. Like,
well, Chris, one time you said something to me about how can I help you, and how can I support you at getting the desired outcome we have together. That right there was a beautiful thing. That's what great leadership is make statements like that, so that allows the other person to come up with a solution or what their perceived solution is, and work with that. Start with that area.
Yeah.
And if my notes are correct, chapter 6 had no acronyms.
Right.
We can make some up if people are feeling a little.
Yeah, I mean, if you miss that.
Yeah. Or if you don't have anything to put on your cue card.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how many cue cards I need just to walk you through the pieces of the crucial conversation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what's the connection between 5 and 6? What can we draw between these two? Have we over drilled that, or are there some honest takeaways from this?
I mean, the difference in the two chapters is we have to prepare our, we have to set our intentions, is what the first chapter says, and then we have to interpret their intentions. So creating safety is how we set our intentions for this. We want a safe meeting. We want you to be able to add to the pool of knowledge without repercussions. And then we have to change our stories to understand their intentions in this meeting. You know, get down to the facts and frankly ask what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like so that's basically like sharing your intent, your intentions with them, and the reason why you're even having this conversation, And then 6 is to make that space safe for them to be able to do the same. I mean, well, that's a shortened version, but you can say that.
That's what we do here.
Yep.
Shortened versions.
Very
Cue
short.
Yep, cue card ready.
Very overly simplified.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, now is the part of the book club, which I like to call the random speed round, where with the few minutes we have left, I want to hear each person's takeaway on how we can, how people that are listening or ourselves even can apply this to our day tomorrow. So we go back to work. How can we apply these chapters? So who would like to go first?
I've got a note on this, so I'll jump in if that's all right.
Yep, do it, Jay.
I wrote
go.
down the challenge this week is simple. Before the next difficult conversation, ask 2 questions. Is the other person safe enough to tell me the truth? And am I seeing facts clearly, or am I reacting to the story I created?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep, that's good. We're gonna have a hard time finding anything that's not good.
We're all encompassing here. I mean,
That was a big one. So,
Jay was our spokesperson.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, we should have added him to the cover image sooner.
Yeah.
So once we've created that safety and challenged our own story, we're finally ready to talk. Is that it? We're ready for the next chapters?
I was thinking there's 2 points as well, Jay. Is that one, you either opt in for justification of your own imperfections and what your role, or 2, focus on results. Focus on results.
Yeah, but
Which one do you choose?
yeah, my takeaway this week is my reminder to always seek safety, because so often I'll see somebody kind of cowering and not say something, not to make it awkward. But I need to stop, make that person safe in the room if I'm going to get the results that I want to get. That's my takeaway, what I'm going to apply this week.
Yeah. And Sarah, I know that you read ahead like the rest of us did prior to this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and probably 2 or 3 books ahead. Knowing you.
I am.
Just so far ahead. What was your takeaway? How can you apply this to your day?
Oh, I think I can apply it in personal and professional settings, especially with my son. I have an 8-year-old son, and ensuring that I understand what I'm looking for from the conversation is the number one thing that I'm going to be conscious of for the rest of the week and into next.
Yep. That's perfect. All right. Any final comments on these 2 chapters? We're about out of time, so I want to make sure we wrap it up on time for those that are listening from home.
Loving the book.
That's what I was going to say. I'm really enjoying this book.
Yeah.
Yep. It's a good stark contrast from the last one.
Mm.
Well, next week we learn how to share our truth without declaring it as truth, and how to draw out the truth of other people that are part of our conversations. So that's chapters 7 and 8. For those, again, who are listening, please like and subscribe so that you get notified when we're live streaming next week. We are on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Thank you again to all of our participants, Alan and Shannon from Sedaris, Jay Jacobson from Jacobson's Professional Staffing, and of course, Sarah, our sponsor from MSP Hire. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
I'm Chris Duncan, and we will see you next week, the same time, same place, Thursday at noon Pacific. Please bring your book and bring your thoughts. Thank you.